I can't believe that happened. Everything was going so smoothly. I had gotten all of the sides of the shelves cut to size. I had cut out these little grooves here because I want the shelves to be adjustable themselves. And so this is where the rail will fit in. And I was just about ready to start actually constructing these things and putting them all together. But I had a thought of maybe I ought to cut a rabbet on the back. A rabbet is just a groove that goes alongside there. And I wanted to cut one there because I thought that way I can have the backer board be nice and flush. And so when you're looking at it at the side, it all looks like one piece. And as I got started with that, my rabbet cutting router bit, the little bearing on it that prevents it from going too deep into the wood, well, that broke off. And in just that split second before I realized what had happened, I had cut into the groove. The really unfortunate part is that it's at just the right spot to where if I was going to continue with the plans that I've been working on for a while, it's going to be noticeable. It's not really the issue itself that I find frustrating. I mean, I can still use this plywood on another part of these shelves. I'm not going to tell you where because otherwise you'll go looking for it. So I haven't lost any material, but it took me hours of work to get to this point. A lot of setup, a lot of getting things cut and doing all sorts of other things that now I have to do all over again with another piece of plywood. That's hours I'm not going to get back. Every project, big or small, it doesn't matter what it is bound to have things happen during the course of it that seem to only exist to stop your momentum, in some case even grinding the project to a halt entirely. And that was true even of the Israelites in the temple rebuild that we've been discussing in Ezra. So I suppose it's time for a vaguely frustrated midweek moment. Now, when we left things off last time, after 2 years of planning and thinking through this entire rebuild project, the Israelites had finally begun to start rebuilding the temple. And there was this huge wave of excitement amongst the people. It was so enthralling to them that just the foundation being laid led them to erupt into worship of God. It's a beautiful moment of these people who haven't really gotten that far into the project, but are so excited and so enthusiastic about it. They just erupt into worship. And I love that particular picture. And it makes a lot of sense to me because every time I get started on a project, as I start to make progress, as I start to get things going, I want to keep going as much as I can. The excitement and enthusiasm just builds as you go, and it makes you want to work even longer and even harder. I just want it to keep going. But of course, whenever things are going well in a project, that's about the time that you're due for something to go wrong. Maybe it's a bearing breaking on your router bit, or maybe it's being offered the wrong kind of help. Or at least that was the case in Ezra chapter 4, verses 1 and 2. Now, when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the returned exiles were building a temple to the Lord, the God of Israel, they approached Zerubbabel and the heads of the fathers' houses and said to them, "Let us build with you, for we worship your God as you do, and we have been sacrificing to him ever since the days of Ashada, king of Assyria, who brought us here." Now, it might be somewhat confusing to you to hear these people referred to as the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin. And if we go through the rest of the book of Ezra, these people are often referred to as the people who were already in the land. Many of these people were Israelites that had been left behind after the captivity. Most of Israel had been taken out, but there had been people left behind. And the king of Assyria had sent several people into Israel to just kind of go and make that land theirs as a way to kind of try to take the whole thing over. And it led to those Israelites who were left behind intermarrying with a lot of these Assyrian people. And while it is true that they did worship the God of Israel, that wasn't the whole story. Not only did they worship the God of Israel, but they also worshiped the foreign gods that had come with the people that they had married. They kind of created a blending of religious ideology and religious worship practices. And if you recall, one of the things that was the primary reason why the Babylonian captivity took place in the first place was because the Israelites were guilty of worshiping idols and false gods. And so when these people who also worship false gods, as well as the God of Israel, come to offer help in building of the temple, the Israelites that are there doing the work don't want to fall back into the same habits. They don't want to fall back into those same practices of sin that got them in trouble in the first place. And so they refuse the help. Admittedly, they probably could have phrased it a little bit nicer than the way they did in verse 3, but still, they felt the need to give some distance between them and these people because they didn't want to fall back into those same patterns of sin. Now, the people who were already in the land were kind of upset at the fact the Israelites refused the extra hands to help them out. But rather than just go home and pout about it, or rather than just get upset about them not taking their help, they chose a different path. They decided, well, if you're not going to have us help you, then we're going to do everything that we can to stop you cold in your tracks. That's one way to handle the situation, I suppose. Verses 4 and 5 give us a better illustration of exactly what it was that they did. Then the people of the land discouraged the people of Judah and made them afraid to build, and bribed counselors against them to frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius, king of Persia. Remember, the entirety of the Israelites have not returned to the land. This is just a small section of people who were sent to try to go and begin the rebuilding process of the nation. A lot of the Israelites are still back in captivity. So they're not exactly in fighting condition. And it's very likely that these people who are already in the land are far more numerous than the people who are working on this temple. So the idea is that maybe they just discourage them by intimidating them, by showing them that, hey, we can beat you guys up if we really want to. And if that wasn't enough, they decided to go ahead and bribe other people to do everything that they could in their power to discourage the Israelites from continuing to work on this temple. They were doing everything that they could to stop any and all momentum in this rebuild project. And well, it worked. Because that's just what discouragement does. All of us know what it feels like to be discouraged. Whenever we are going through a time where it feels like our faith is on fire, where we are growing in our faith in a whole brand new way, like we are completely rebuilding the relationship that we have with God. And then all of a sudden we face a diagnosis, either for ourselves or a loved one. Or all of a sudden we are faced with a financial disaster. Sometimes it's even more personal than that. Sometimes it's just that we fell back into behavior or a sin that we've been trying to escape, that we thought maybe was behind us, but then we find out it's still there. And then all of a sudden, all that momentum that we once felt, everything that we felt as far as that passion, that desire to grow with God, it feels like it has stopped cold in its tracks. In a lot of cases, it even feels like we've taken far too many steps backwards. Here's the thing, and admittedly, this might be tough to hear, but anytime we are experiencing any sort of spiritual growth, then we should also start expecting things trying to discourage us. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 says this. It says, "Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour." When discouragement comes, and it is going to come, the best way for us to not stay in that state of discouragement is to go and to seek out encouragement. to find people who will cheer us on, who will spur us forward, who will remind us of all the great ways that God has been moving in our lives thus far, and to remind us that God is not going to abandon us, even though we may have had a moment of discouragement. We need to seek out encouragers to continue to speak that truth and spur us forward and remind us that our journey is not done. Church, we need to be the ones who encourage one another. And at every single turn that we possibly can, seek to encourage everyone around us and lead them to the cross of Jesus Christ. Because the rebuild is not done. You've still got work to do. As a reminder, our book of the month is Until Unity by Francis Chan. Again, I love this book. It's a fantastic book about a call to unity for people. I know I say I love almost every book that I do, which makes sense because I probably wouldn't recommend a book that I don't like. But pretty much, for the most part, if Francis Chan's name is on the book, it is probably worth your read. And in Until Unity, Francis reminds us of the need within the church to seek out unity, to look for ways that we can still bind ourselves together and work together to accomplish the goal that Jesus has set out for his followers. It's a great read. It is a challenging read, but it's one that's worthy of your time. Until Unity by Francis Chan. Well, I still got work to do. This has been your midweek moment. Take care of yourselves and each other, and apparently your router bits too.